love racing to experience racing in a way that is accessible and also in a way that's very transferable.
More than 70,000 race-loving gamers entered the qualifying process for this season, creating more than 3 million views on social media during its first live event. So Formula One may not have been the first sport to enter the e-gaming arena, but events like this show that it's certainly back on the pace.
Gentlemen, please welcome Formula One world champion and young global leader Nico Rosberg. Nico, what an absolute pleasure it is to have you with us. Now, of course, Formula One world champion, also young global leader here at Davos. Well, how important is it for you to be at the World Economic Forum, Nico, and why?
First of all, it's a privilege to be on CNBC. It's my personal news website.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
So that's cool.
Fantastic.
And then, no, it's great to be in Davos. It's incredible. The group of people that come together here. I mean, it's just, even just hanging out at the bar, yeah, it's like one, yeah, it's amazing. It's really phenomenal.
And what are some of the issues here that concern you?
Well, as we know, the big issue that's being discussed again in these days, or one of the biggest, is the climate change, and the general issues around sustainability. And the concerns there. I had the privilege of assisting a dinner with Sir David Attenborough, who is the biggest legend when it comes to preserving our planet, as we all know. That was really an incredible insight and experience for me, but at the same time quite shocking, because he, as well as many of the other experts, are just extremely pessimistic, and I wasn't really aware that we were already that far into the danger zone.
But look, Nico, you've turned into a green tech investor. But Formula One, obviously, you were sort of the other way.
Slightly.
Slightly?
Not much.
Just slightly, just a little bit. Yeah, just a tiny bit. What brought you over to the other side?
It's never too late to make a comeback, though, right? So now I'm coming back with a bang, and I'm going the other way.
So what was it that changed your mind, and why have you come this way?
When I stopped, it was really a blank sheet of paper for me. I didn't know where I was going to go, and I was just searching for a very meaningful challenge in this next part of my life. And I found it in mobility, actually, primarily. Because in mobility, there's now one of the biggest opportunities ever. Maybe it's as big an it's going to be as big a disruption as when we went from the horse to the car, like almost more than 100 years ago. And now there's this incredible opportunity to make mobility more sustainable in the next couple of years, in many different ways. And I find this fascinating, and this is where I would like to make a difference as well.
Okay, but Nico, let me take you back. 2016, you're world champion, and then 5 days later, you retire. What went into that decision? You're so young.
No,
how do you retire so young?
Achieving my goal, and then just it was the perfect moment, yeah. And I can say now, like a couple of years afterwards, that it was absolutely the right decision for me personally. Yeah, everybody can decide differently. But for me personally, it was great, and it just feels so powerful to end at the very, very top. And there was no way for me, feeling-wise, to go even higher than that. So, it's still carrying me, even now, after 2 years in my life, with this more confidence, positivity. And that's a wonderful thing, and also now I'm still young enough to do a second life. So that's very exciting. But there's no right or wrong. We see Federer playing tennis, for example, and I'm sure he's doing the right decision for him as well. So there's no right or wrong approach.
There's no right or wrong, Nico, as you say, but was it difficult at the time of making that decision? How hard was it?
Absolutely. Change is always hard, I think, most of the time, because it's disruptive, and us humans, we like to stay in our norms. So, of course, it wasn't easy. But I had a couple of very, very solid platforms. My family, for example, my philosophy studies as well helped a lot to help me find a new path. And it was really about finding a new purpose as well. A new purpose in life, or part of a new purpose. And I'm starting to find it now very strongly, so that's very nice.
Well, you found your new purpose, as you said, and investing, of course, in green tech, in mobility, and, of course, you're very involved with Formula E.
Yes, so Formula E has been great. A really phenomenal job they've done, and their leader, Alejandro Agag, in the last couple of years. And it's awesome, because that's what we need out there, yeah? We need to inspire and fascinate people, or all of us, with the green technologies that are available to accelerate the positive change, to get people to really embrace it. And this is what Formula E as well is about, to really make e-mobility and showcase it in such a cool way. And so I think it's a big success already so far. I'm very happy to be shareholder in that. And I look forward to seeing the further progress. And I'll be at a couple of races. If any of you have the chance, please come. It's always great to follow.
But how can it replace the noise of Formula One, the adrenaline, do you think?
It's different. I mean, I'm a fan of both. Yeah, I still love Formula One. I always will. And Formula One is about entertainment. It's about being the gladiators, fighting it out. And Formula E is more, it's the future. It's more accessible. It's developing the technologies of the future. So it's very different and has different attractions. Yeah, of course the racing is always going to be the bottom line, but I think that makes it very interesting.
Talking about gladiators, Nico, I mean, you know, to prepare for a Formula One race, what would you do?
So this was my entry point into Davos. Also, it was all about human performance because I had spent so much time myself working on that. Even going into meditation, and that was cool to bring that into this business environment in Davos in 2 years ago. It was really nice. Also to see how people were receptive to that. And this was, I think in sports, it's really an aspect that there's an opportunity there because we all work so much on our bodies, but not so many work on their minds. And there's just as much opportunity to improve your performance up in the head.
But not all sports, Nico, put you in a car at about 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, that was the problem, though. I tried all the meditation in the world, but when it came to actually being in the car, it didn't work. No way. And it can, because meditation can be a split second.
Yes.
Because it's all about just being present. But I didn't manage to do it in the car.
Was there ever...
Still one.
Was there ever a time, though, because, you know, obviously it's much safer, the sport is much safer, Formula One, but many legends of the sport have been killed on the track. Nico, was there ever a time where you just felt it was too risky?
Not too risky, but I definitely felt fear sometimes, yeah, because when you're doing 360 kilometers an hour, or let me translate 215 miles an hour maybe, or 220 or 230, in the city center in Azerbaijan at that speed, and then you look to your left and there's a perpendicular wall facing you, something goes wrong there, you know that it's the end. So those are the moments where sometimes, yeah, it was a bit scary, but you kind of blend it out, you have to.
And what about, of course, you had a great friendship with Lewis Hamilton, who was, of course, your teammate as well. But there was also a rivalry, of course. What's your relationship like with him now?
Yeah, it was a great rivalry, and I'm so thankful that he was there as my teammate, because for me, it made my win all the better. And now it's very neutral, so it's fine. So we get on okay.
Can you be friends, though, with a rival on the track?
Difficult. Very, very difficult. Also in sports, it's quite a self-centered thing, especially in Formula One. So that made it quite difficult, yeah.
And of course, he's now a 5-time world champion. Do you think he'll get a 6th, in your opinion, Nico? You know him so well and you know the sport.
Great driver, one of the best of all time. So I think it is very, very possible. But we'll see. It should mix things up next year again because they've changed the regulations a lot. So it's going to be really good to see the first couple of races where everybody's positioned. And it's not clear at the moment who's going to be the favorite.
Who can stop him?
Well, it's Ferrari or Red Bull at the moment. Those are the two teams. And let's hope that it's close again, because the racing was awesome last year.
How much do you think the sport has changed? Obviously, Liberty's taken over. How much do you think it's changed since you've left it, Nico, and over the years that you've been involved in it?
I think it hasn't changed much. It's still very exciting. What they need to do is they need to attract the youth. Yeah, and they're doing a lot of that. So digitalizing it and go stronger on social media, esports, as we just saw in the piece right before our talk here. Whoa.
Oops.
Everything okay?
Everything's good.
Okay, all good.
All good.
Someone
she was
fell.
trying to drive out.
She was trying to get the best picture, but it didn't work out.
She got it, though. She got a good angle.
Did you get the good picture? Yes.
As long
awesome.
as you're okay, the safety.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters, exactly.
So esports, they're trying, to bring in young people and keep the fascination for fast cars going. And I think they're on a good path there, yeah.
And Nico, what about your own involvement still? Because you're there in TV and media, you're commentating. Do you enjoy still being involved?
I'll always love Formula One, and it's my environment, so I like to be there. I like to see everybody again, spend some time there. As long as it's not too much, so it needs to be keep the balance. But no, I enjoy it, yeah. And so again this year I'll be on. Sorry, I might be a competitor, I don't know, but I'll be on Sky Sports F1, doing some commentating there. So that's something I enjoy, yeah.
But you have so many other ventures now. We sort of touched on them lightly before. You're a great investor, a green tech investor. Tell me about the future of mobility. Where do you see it going, Nico?
Yeah, that's another challenge I've embraced, is really supporting some of the great, especially startup companies out there in the mobility space who are going to have this big impact, hopefully, in the next couple of years. And for example, there's a company called Lilium, which is a man-carrying drone out of Germany. And this is around the corner. It's not a dream. Yeah, it's going to happen very, very soon. And it's going to be very, very beneficial, especially to cities, once they sort out all their air regulation and everything. And those are just some examples. And it's going to be an incredible time. It's going to be unbelievable for us to follow, and difficult still to predict also how it's all going to roll out. But so much is going to change, and change for the better as well. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
And tell me also about TRE Engineering, because this was a company that I believe your father initiated 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's another great project I'm working on at the moment. So I took over TRE 2 years ago, and we've really been going from strength to strength. And in fact, I've just come from Vegas 2 weeks ago from the CES, where together with Schaeffler, which is one of our biggest German mobility companies, well, not mobility really, they're a supplier, and together with them, so we did the whole R&D for their chassis, for their new futuristic shuttle. And so I was very, very proud to be able to present it there to the global stage with them. It was wonderful, and this is something I enjoy because engineering was something I really enjoyed whilst racing in F1, so it's really a continuation of that as well. So it's a great challenge as well.
What other companies do you invest in, and how do you make those investments? What decisions do you make?
I'm never going to be in a position to analyze it as well as the top experts out there. So what I've tried to do is really form a group of trusted people around me. And what I can bring to the table is for example, network. I can bring to the table reach eventually also for these companies, and visibility, also some insights, of course. And so together, we then decide on companies, and it's been going really, really well so far. So it's been a great process. And anyways, yeah, I look forward to the years to come. But it's something I enjoy very much.
And what is your message here at Davos? Because you are a young global leader, what would you like to say to people?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that we've seen here again this time is that we are still in a little bit of a bubble here in Davos. Yeah. So of course there's some great talks and everything going on, but the biggest power to actually accelerate positive change lies with the citizens of our planet. And I think we need to make sure that we also reach them powerfully, yeah, with all the talks that happen here, all the concepts that come out, all the facts that arise from Davos, because they it's us, yeah, it's not they, it's us. We need to each of us embrace the change, and each of us do our little part, yeah. And I think that's one important thing that I've been seeing, that maybe there's some progress to be made. And in fact, I just had a great meeting with Michael Sheeran, who is G20 Sustainable Finance co-chair. And I mean, fascinating people you meet here, and especially Michael as well was quite amazing. And he was also saying the importance of storytelling around these issues, of sustainability that we have. There's still a lot of progress that can be made, storytelling that reaches everybody in our planet. And I think this is something that maybe a lot of focus needs to go in the next couple of years. I think that would be very, very powerful to support all the ideas that we're creating here.
How do you think?
Do you agree?
Of course.
You see it all, so you know.
But you know what, Nico, what's so interesting is talking about it, as you say, but then it's the action points, and how do you mobilize? Listen, you're used to being very fast, so how do you change people's behavior quickly?
Well, you need to reach them with facts that they believe. I need to be reached with facts that so when I see David Attenborough talk, okay, now I'm mobilized. But unfortunately, he was talking just in a small group, so
exactly.
Nobody else saw that. And that's the thing we need to work on, I think, to really bring out these messages in an authentic way. It's not going to be the politician who then says it. Yeah, but with all due respect to politicians. But it needs to be, in today's world, they're called influencers, who really bring the message across authentically, believe it. And I think that's a very, very powerful and an important way to make progress.
And as an influencer yourself, what is your message for the future of mobility? What's your vision? We'll be driving around in electric cars, in driverless cars. What's going to happen to us, Nico?
Well, we need to remember driverless cars are going to increase the safety a lot. I'm a road safety advocate as well for many years now, and we have, I think, more than 1.2 million people dying on the roads every year. And autonomy is going to be a huge benefit to that, and save a lot of lives. It's going to take some time, of course. We're still some way away. And this is also very important at the moment to try and convince all of us that autonomy can be trusted. Because we all know that's quite an issue still that we have, that we struggle to trust artificial intelligence. But I'm pretty convinced that we can put it in a place where it can be trusted and really create incredible good for all of us.
Also, Nico, you've spoken before about Europe being behind in investing in mobility behind the US and China. Why do you feel that way?
Well, an example is, for example, so in the Series A and B phase, yeah, where you really need to scale up startups. So this is the important phase of really pumping in money and sending them through the roof to give them a chance. And in that phase, for example, in America, even pension funds have by regulation, a small allocation which they can put into these risky investments. Yeah, and in Europe, it's not allowed. So I think that's one reason why in Europe sometimes startups are struggling more in that phase and struggle to really break through. And that's possibly one reason why in Europe we're a little bit behind. And that's a pity, because we're seeing China very strong, seeing America very strong. And I wish, especially Germany, me being German, I really hope that Germany can have a very, very strong position, as they do have today, in the automotive sector, for example, also in the future. But there's a big threat, because there's big change, and the other continents are going very strong.
What's the biggest threat, do you think, Nico?
Threat to depends on what? The automotive industry?
Yes.
Oh, so it's the phone is the best example. The phone, the whole power has gone to the software. Yeah. So the hardware producers, their margins are tiny, and it's all in software. And the software is dominated by Apple and Google. And we have the same risk in the automotive industry, that the OEMs just end up as hardware producers, and the whole power is in the whole consumer experience inside the whole. Whatever you'd call it, apps or whatever. And so that's a big risk.
And what about in terms of businesses, the risk that you're seeing now of, in terms of governments and Europe and what's going on politically? Does that worry you?
So that's an area where I'm definitely not the expert. I'm sure in Davos you've got a lot of people with stronger opinions on that, because it's impossible to judge from outside, I think. Even Brexit, who knows which way it's going to go? It's just so.
But what's your advice to investors and to startups?
Believe in your cause. Believe in your cause, and really try and have an impact. I think that's important. Care. We know that care is, first of all, so powerful for really having impact and important in today's world, and it will give you the best business success as well. Care is powerful, so I think that's the best advice, really care.
And Nico, of course, we've talked about Formula E, and you've wanted to see drivers like Alonso maybe come over. Do you think that will, do you back that, and do you think that will take it even more into the public arena if that happens?
Of course, the better the drivers, that's a huge boost. And Formula E has now become the second greatest motorsport category in the world. So we see Formula 1 drivers now, as a second choice, they go to Formula E. So this already is huge progress. And it would be awesome to get bigger and bigger names with every year. And let's see where it can go. And it's important, because the bigger the names, of course, the bigger the impact you can have, as well as the category. And it's very cool now with the whole manufacturers coming in. So we've got, for Germany, yeah, you have Mercedes against BMW, against Porsche, against Audi, starting in December in the next season. Phenomenal. Never happened in German racing to have all the premium manufacturers fighting it out. And their future depends on sort of this e-mobility. So it's so important for them to do a good job. And that's going to be great to see and to follow that war out there.
What about the future of Formula One? Where do you see that, Nico?
Future of Formula One, I see it as electric. but it's still going to take time. But if the whole world is going electric and selling electric cars, at one point they're going to have to make the shift as well, I believe. But let's see when. Still some way to go. Formula E and Formula One have the same owner eventually at the top, John Malone, Liberty. So probably one day there'll have to be a merger or something. But let's see. I don't want to make too many predictions.
Do you think you could really see Formula One going completely? I mean, really?
No, we all love the racing cars too much. And we see it out there. I mean, there's so many fans still following our sports and being excited about what's happening. So I think this sport will have a future, and a long-term future, yes. And we're not going to become autonomous in the racing world, because it's still about the human being. It's still about the gladiator, and that's where the biggest fascination is.
And talking about John Malone and Liberty, Nico, as you were mentioning before, they want to move it more also into entertainment, make an entertainment franchise. What are your thoughts on that?
With Formula One or in general?
With Formula One.
Well, it's all a matter of giving a 360-degree experience and not just focusing on the actual experience of the race. And that makes sense, because all the fans who love the race love music as well. So if you can bring it together and create more and add more value, maybe even for the same ticket price or whatever, it can only be beneficial. So I think it's important to explore new ways, reinvent yourself. You always need to think about how you can get even better. And F1 is doing that, so it's on a good path, I think.
Talking about the future, I know you are a father of 2 daughters, I believe, Nico.
Yes, very lucky. 3 and 1.
Well, congratulations. Do you see women drivers in Formula One?
That's a big debate all the time, and I'm convinced that it's possible. I think that the main reason is that there's 100,000 young boys who try to get there, and there's 20 young girls who try to get there. And so it just takes so much longer to find that special talent that can make it to Formula One. This is one of my attempts at reasoning, but I don't know, it's a difficult one. We're seeing the W series that's come out now, which is great. So it's a women-only series, which will really allow many women to grow as well and grow in their speed and everything. And maybe this is another opportunity to fast track the next woman Formula One driver. That would be awesome, because in Formula One we have the same difficulties as here in Davos as well. That women are unfortunately in in the minority.
Yes.
And
yes.
This is something we of course need to look at in every area, because there's no reason for that.
Nico, you also help the younger generation too. I think you have a go-karting. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I've been given so much from my sport, and therefore I think it's really enjoyable to have an academy and support young kids. I love seeing these incredible young kids where they just have so much talent, and this is something I enjoy, giving back a little bit. So, and in fact, we became world champions in the first year, last year. So this was awesome. Yeah, so I'm a 2-time world champion now. Just kidding.
There's that competitive spirit.
Just kidding. So no, that's an enjoyable aspect as well, which I'll keep following. Yeah.
But Nico, you're so young yourself, and you've swapped careers at such an age. And really, what inspired you? I think when you were 6 years old, you knew you wanted to go into racing. Of course, your father was is very famous in that field. But as a young child, when did you really know that is what I want to do?
I was lucky, because I know out there it's quite a challenge for many young kids to find their direction. And I was just lucky, because I was in that world and just had such a strong inspiration as well, watching my father. And that's the way the passion then grew. And then ever since I can remember, it was my big goal. I want to be a professional racing driver.
You fulfilled that dream. So, Nico, your next dream, you've talked to us about it, but in 5 years' time, where would you like to be?
Ooh, that's a big challenge. I want to have successfully conquered a few challenges in green mobility, for example, in green technologies. That would be awesome. So this is my 5-year goal. Yeah, that's going to be a good one. So I'll be back here again, and we'll be talking about that in 5 years' time.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Nico Rosberg, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nico. Brilliant. Well done. Lovely. Great.
mal sagen, Chapeau für das, was Sie getan haben für uns Deutsche.
Yes. Oh, darling, how are you? Good to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, do not go anywhere. We have a special treat for you. Do not go anywhere. Hold on to your seats.
Welcome everyone, please take a seat. We're about to begin our next discussion.
So late afternoon, actually good late afternoon, everybody. We have a real treat for you here at the CNB Sanctuary. We have the amazing Sphinx Quartet. Now, they will be performing tomorrow night, I believe, and they'll be... Tomorrow afternoon, thank you, Robert, sir, thank you. And they will be closing the World Economic Forum, but we will have an exclusive preview of them, which is so exciting. And before we hear them play, I'd like to introduce you to quite an incredible man, philanthropist, also chairman of Carnegie Hall. Please welcome Robert F. Smith.
So much, Tanya. Thank you. Thank you.
So, Robert, you're on the board, you're chairman of Carnegie Hall. Music clearly has played a big part in your life, and you're supporting the Sphinx Orchestra. What's so special about them? Tell us.
Wow. There's a lot that's special about these young people. I had the great fortune of growing up in a family where music was very important. My father played a number of instruments, but he had a particular proclivity and love of the voice. And so I remember waking up to Leontine Price and Jesse Norman and Grace Bumbry. And, those times and growing up, that becomes a part of your soul. It becomes a part of your spirit. And I have the great fortune of getting a chance to do different things in the world. But I know that it was the grounding and the centering of music in our home that made it feel like a home and helped me embrace optimism and hope and understand emotion. And when you see young people like these four here, talented musicians, not just playing the music, but bringing their soul to the music, and you start to hear who they are in the way that they play, and in the way that they perform, in the way that they bring forward the music's energy, and it changes you. And the Sphinx organization has been one that I've had the great fortune to meet the two founders, Aaron Dworkin and now Afa Dworkin, who is the executive director and president. And I love the way that they reach into the communities. Over the last 22 years, they get to over 10,000 students per year in bringing music education, exposure, experience, training for people who learn to really love music and then become some of the virtuosic talent that you'll see here today. So that's the dynamic that continues to propel me to do all I can so these young people get worldwide exposure, an opportunity for them to play with other musicians. And with the platform of Carnegie Hall, of course, many of them have performed at Carnegie Hall as soloists. And they play with some of the greatest orchestras on the planet, including Cleveland Orchestra in San Francisco. And we have learned that our greatest ambassadors in America are, frankly, our young people and our young people who are musicians. And so our gift to the World Economic Forum, our gift to the town of Davos is the Sphinx Virtuosi. So that's why I'm so happy to be here and proud to be a part of this.
And talking about Davos and the World Economic Forum, how do you feel being here, Robert? What are some of the issues that you feel strongly about?
Sure. There are a number. As you know, I'm in the world of software and technology, and the advancements of technology lead to a number of great things for our society. Those things you think about, the eradication of poverty and hunger and education, uplift. You can point to technology as driving a lot of the efforts to help our society and improve humanity in ways of information and connectivity and actually, identifying problems and issues and bringing solutions to it. Everything from clean water to, the way that we are going to, help people through vaccinations. And the wonderful thing about what this World Economic Forum has done is it brings world leaders together to look for solutions, and they are truly committed to solving problems. Sometimes you hear this place gets a little bit of a, this environment, a bad rap about, it's a bunch of, capitalists. And what you actually have are concerned global citizens actually working together. Just in the last 48 hours, one of the things we've launched in America is InternX. And what InternX is designed to be a platform to match STEM students with STEM internships. And so I've connected with a number of my friends now, people like John Donovan, the president and, CEO of AT&T, and Dan Schulman, who's, CEO of PayPal, and, Mark Weisberger, who's CEO of Ernst & Young, and say, hey, listen, we need internships so that our STEM students can get exposure and experience in the world of technology, in the world of business. And they'll say, hey, fine, here's 500 internships. And now we manage the program to connect students to these internships. It is leaders who are actually looking to solve problems through the platforms that they have a chance to influence, and in some cases command. The business leaders on the planet they command vast resources and have concerned people in their organizations. And so looking for the right missions and the right causes that are effective are truly important to them. And you see them take action here, not just talk about it, they take action. And I'm always encouraged every year we see more progress with the things that we put in place, reacquainting ourselves with people who have become friends who can actually deliver solutions to some of the ailing parts of our economy and the ailing parts of our society.
But Robert, is it made more difficult? Is it hindered perhaps by what's going on in the US? I mean, obviously now, you have a government shutdown, you have a lot of divisiveness. How do you feel about it?
It is, like all things, you want to have a functioning government in providing, stability and frankly, we just finished a panel on data and the data economy. And when you start to think about personal data and how it's used and how it can be misused and the trust that you have to convey to the companies are looking for organizations. In some cases, you have to do it ourselves as companies, or in some cases, it's the role of government to think about here's what privacy laws should be, and here's how that data should be governed, and here's where it should be perishable, or here's where you should potentially get paid for your information, your data. So there's those dynamics that we have to reckon with the reality. A government shutdown and in what's happening in Europe with is there a Brexit, is there not a Brexit? You've got trade war conflicts and all those sort of things. But I think one of the things that we are really good at here as a community is looking at things over the long term and saying, what are the things that we need to put in place, either institutions, communication strategies, engagement with parties so that we can actually continue to uplift, and I'll say humanity. Okay, because we all recognize, as technology and as, in economies advance, there were, people get left out. Okay, so let's talk about how we create these on-ramps for people to participate in the economy or utilize the technology so they can live more fruitful and meaningful lives. So I think we solve a lot of those problems here and probably don't get enough credit for it.
Robert, with all the uncertainty going on, do you put your trust in President Trump and his administration?
What we have to put our trust in is America. And, when you start to think about America, America is made up of individuals, institutions, companies, governments, and we have to work together. And like I said, we have to look over the long haul and look, there's skirmishes around different issues and items, and often things get a little too polarized because we have now created systems that create polarized, consumption of media. The more you look at one direction, you get more information from that one direction as opposed to the communication. The advantage, I think, that we have is a perspective over time. And I'll say the thing that we like to look at is the best communicator, in my mind, the best language to communicate is through the voice of music. And I think anytime you introduce music into the conversation, it puts humanity on the right playing field. And then from there, we can talk about who are we going to become? How are we going to become our best selves? And how do we work together to do that? And then the other issues seem to fall away. So it's an important dynamic that we don't lose sight, which is one of the reasons we've invited, the Sphinx Virtuosi here. We don't lose sight of why we are here. And it is to truly uplift humanity, and music is, I think, the best method to do that.
And just finally, Robert, before we hear the wonderful musicians from the Sphinx, you are part of the Giving Pledge.
I am,
right?
Yes.
And how important do you feel that is for people that have accumulated that kind of wealth?
It's critical. What you're going to see in the dynamic, you see in the dynamic of the planet, technology and, the rapid distribution of computing power will lead to an innovative dynamic where there are going to be certain innovations that create massive wealth accumulation in certain silos across the planet. And it's important not to lose sight of your humanity in that context. And I think what Bill and Melinda have done with the Gates Foundation and with Warren and people like David Rubenstein and others, in saying, listen, let's actually come together and think about how we solve some of the biggest problems that aren't being addressed by governments. And we can address them as philanthropists. And that is what got me excited, because they're actually looking at handling and tackling big problems with a global connectivity. And one of the wonderful things about being here, my wife went to the meetings yesterday to talk about, okay, how do you actually now, leverage the fact that you can reach anyone on the planet as part of this organization who actually has a thought to solving problems and collaborate on how you solve some of these big problems. So it's a dynamic that it is quite unique. And when you engage with the spirits of people who are part of the Giving Pledge, you see they have a genuine concern to, again, uplift humanity in its entirety. We've got many of us good fortune in coming up with good ideas, monetizing those ideas, but you see the thought of, okay, I have got to ensure that the communities that I care about also have a chance to participate in a better life. And, the data proves that out. But we have to have people and organizations and institutions that move that forward. So I'm thankful to, again, Bill and Melinda and Warren and others to actually drive that forward.
Well, Robert, thank you so much for talking to me
Pleasure.
today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, and thank you so much for bringing the members of the Sphinx Virtuoso to us to play for us.
It is my honor. Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, Robert F. Smith.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Robert, thank you so
My
much.
pleasure. Yes.
And I'm going to ask you to
I will get off the stage and I don't know how to do what they do.
only because we have the wonderful musicians. Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the quartet from the Sphinx Virtuoso. Ladies and gentlemen, Robert just told me, you're not going to believe this, they just started playing together yesterday? Is that right? It's unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, please show your appreciation for the Sphinx Virtuoso Orchestra. Wonderful. Thank you so much. You've just all been fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming to us. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, my beautiful